the devil's yard sale. So one day this man's out walking his neighborhood and he stumbles upon a yard sale. He gets curious, so he goes, checks it out, and the owner of the house just so happens to be the devil. So he walks up to the devil, and as he walks up, he sees this big, beautiful table full of all these big, shiny tools. And the man looks at the devil and he says, what are you selling? The devil looks at the man and he says, well, you know what? I think it's time I retire. So I am selling all of the tools that I use to steal people's souls. The man's like, wow. And he can see on the table, he can see tools like anger and lust and depression and anxiety. But off in the corner, he catches a glimpse of something. Something catches his eye, and he sees two tools that aren't on the table, just off in the corner of the garage. And he says, well, what are those? What are those rusted, old, beaten and bruised, used tools? And the devil looks at where the man's pointing, and he looks back with a smile, and he says, well, those are my two favorite tools of all. I have single-handedly used those two tools more than anyone you see on the table. And I have been more successful with those two tools than anyone on the table. The man says, well, what are they? The devil says, discouragement and doubt. Now the man's really confused. He's like, how in the world is discouragement and doubt better than anger? Anger can fill somebody up with hate, and hate can lead to murder. How are they more powerful than lust? Lust can lead somebody to have their life ruined by sexual desires and pleasures of the flesh. The devil says yes, but you see, those are all outside things. You see, discouragement and doubt are small little seeds that get planted. You see, when he tells the man, he says, you see, when I'm dealing with the Christian, I can't get the tools are the tool like anger is too big to plant inside the roots of a Christian. A tool like lust is too big to plant inside the roots of a Christian, because they know where they stand. The roots that carry them are too thick. I can't get my tools in there. But those little tools called discouragement and doubt are just small enough that I can fit them in. And you see, when the Christian when the Christian allows himself to feel discouraged, to start doubting, that tool expands and it creates a bigger space, and I can put more discouragement, and I can make them doubt even more, and I can make a hole big enough to put anger in, to put lust in, pride, depression, anxiety. I can ruin their life by making them feel discouraged. The moral of the story is that in this life, not everything's going to go good. I don't know where you are, what you've done, what your life looks like right now. But the one thing you can't allow is the devil to come in and discourage you, can make you doubt. Because when you start doubting God, you start opening room for more. When you start feeling discouraged, you start looking for places to hide. And when you start doubting God, and when you start feeling discouraged, you look for places in the world to hide. And those places tear your life apart and bring you down. So my motivation is, when the next time you feel discouraged, the next time you start doubting, to remember Isaiah 54, no weapon formed against you shall prosper. To remember Psalm 27, the Lord is my strength, whom shall I fear?